From that, we go to the Ascension. I got something to say about this, too. The Ascension comes out. They cut a shitty promo, mocking Demolition, mocking the Road Warriors. Oh, what a joke, they say. Then they beat up two jobbers in a quick squash. Whoever scripted this shit for them should also be fired. Wouldn't shock me if Vince McMahon was doing the Ascension's promos, too. The announcers then proceeded during the match, after they finished cutting the promo, to absolutely bury the Ascension on commentary. JBL said they couldn't even carry the Road Warriors back. You listen to this, you would think the Road Warriors were coming back for a match to put the Ascension over. The only problem with that is one half of the Road Warriors are dead. And he's been dead for over a decade. So there will be no match. And it's like I said earlier, you know, JBL is the closest thing they have to a heel wrestling announcer. This was not Jerry Lawler, Michael Cole, Booker T, whoever was on commentary this week making a comment like that. Of all people, it was JBL. The guy on the announce team you would least expect to make a comment like that. And if this was designed to somehow get these guys over, get heat on them, and not to bury them, then it failed. It blew up in their face. It did not work. And there was a lot of very angry people watching this. And I want to talk about this because Lance Storm, he turned the show off. He was severely offended at what he took as a sign of disrespect at Hawk, who's dead, who was a friend of his, and who's no longer around to defend himself. Shane Helms felt the same way. Mick Foley was also offended by their treatment of Hawk. And especially that line about, oh, what a joke, you know, mocking, that was Hawk's catchphrase. The weird thing about this was I was not offended, but at the same time, I'm not a wrestler. I was not friendly with Hawk. Foley may have been friendly with Hawk. Lance Storm said he was friendly with Hawk. I don't know about Shane Helms. They're wrestlers. They were offended by it. If anything, they're the ones who I would think would be like, come on, guys, it's a work. What are you getting so offended by? It's heat. Come on, it's called being a heel. But no, they were very upset by how this whole thing came about. And Road Warrior Animal ended up coming out and making a statement about it on Facebook. And, you know, he basically said the idiots in charge make the call. Everybody knows how stupid it is to copy the icons, and yet they still do it. You know, do it in a mocking fashion to get heat, I understand. Do it in a disrespectful way, well, that's another issue that's low and has no place in the business. Again, my personal opinion, I was not offended by the slight against Hawk and the Road Warriors. I was offended by how crappy this whole thing was. This sucked. This was terrible. And I think Animal makes a very good point, though, in you do these guys no favors by having them copy off icons. As soon as they had that first vignette where they said, oh, we're coming to Raw soon, we're coming soon, and they put the face paint on them, which they never had in NXT. I mean, even in NXT, there were people who would make obviously they're supposed to be a modern-day incarnation of the LOD, but it's not like they came out mocking the LOD's catchphrase, wearing Hawk's old face paint. You know, they were just two big guys who came out. They were kind of like a modern-day version, maybe of LOD or the Eliminators in ECW. They stole the Eliminators' finish. They don't do it as well as the Eliminators did. But now they put the face paint on them, and then they have them going out there week after week, openly acknowledging the fact that they're copying off Demolition, and openly acknowledging the fact that they're copying off LOD. So naturally, people will make the comparisons. There is no comparison. These guys are dead in the water. They're doing them no favors. You know, it'd be like David Flair. When David Flair started wrestling in WCW, they didn't hide from the fact that he was Ric Flair's son. It kind of became part of who he is. It's Ric Flair's son. There was no way he was ever going to be able to live up to Ric Flair. And before long, David Flair was out of the wrestling business. Now, maybe they can get away with it with Charlotte. They openly acknowledge that she's the daughter of Ric Flair, but Charlotte actually has some real talent. You know? So that's a little bit different. Plus, it's you know, women's wrestling, not male wrestling. It's not like Charlotte will ever get to the same level her dad was at. But, I mean, you're killing these guys before they have a chance to get over by coming out of the gate and comparing them to guys that they simply cannot compare to. I think Animal makes a very good point in that respect. So they were really offended by this disrespect to Hawk, and they're entitled to feel that way. I wasn't bothered by that. I was just bothered by how terrible this whole thing was. From the promo, to the way the announcers buried them, to the match itself, everything about this was bad. The only good thing I can honestly say about this segment and how this all went off was, I have not heard Demolition's name mentioned on WWE television in forever, until the last couple of weeks. So if any good might come out of this, it's that Demolition may finally get a Hall of Fame induction this year, which I think they're well overdue for. LOD is in. Demolition deserves to be in too. If the only good thing that comes out of this is a Hall of Fame induction for them, then that's fine. But that's the only good thing that I could see coming from this.